This is a Kwik Performance instructional video for K10291. Pictured here is what comes with your Kwik Performance AC kit. The plates, spacers, fasteners, and tensioner required to do this installation are included in the kit. The first step is to do some pre-assembly. We are going to insert the 140 millimeter bolts where shown, flip over the plate and install the two medium spacers where shown, followed by the back plate and the two short spacers. Fasten the bracket to the cylinder head where shown to less than finger tight. If the bracket is being installed with the truck water pump, use the third 10 mm by 140 mm bolt and fasten to the cylinder head. If you are using a 2010 or later Camaro water pump, use separate short spacer and bolt and fasten to the lower tensioner boss on the water pump. Using the 8 mm by 25 mm bolts, we are going to attach the compressor to the front of the bracket. The rear of the compressor will connect to the rear plate with an 8 mm by 35 mm bolt and nut. Once again, these fasteners should be left just finger tight. We will now begin the torque process by lifting up on the compressor and pressing in towards the engine to take the slack out of the bolt holes in the same direction. We will tighten the two head bolts first to 37 foot-pounds, followed by the lower bolt into the head if installed on the truck water pump, or into the water pump boss if on the 2010 or later Camaro water pump, also 37 foot-pounds. Now we will torque the 8 mm bolts to the compressor on the front plate to 15 foot-pounds, followed by the rear nut and bolt, 15 foot-pounds as well. The tensioner is installed by a 10 mm by 65 mm bolt and flange nut, torqued to 37 foot-pounds. To determine the belt length, we will need to look at the driver's side of the engine. If using an OEM truck alternator power steering bracket, we will need to determine if you have a standard or high output alternator. The quickest way is to lay a straight edge along the alternator mounting bolts and measure to the center of the pulley. 1 3/4 inches is a standard casing, and 2 1/4 is a high output casing. The recommended belt for standard casing is K061020. The recommended belt for high output is K061031. If installing with the stock 2010 or later Camaro brackets, a Gates K060947 is recommended. After you have selected the appropriate belt for your application, it is important to check the tensioner to verify you indeed have the right belt. This Dayco tensioner does not have tensioner marks, but rather has maximum and minimum stops. Verify the swing of the tensioner arm rests somewhere close to the middle. The K10291 works great in early fat body cars and trucks that are using the truck or 2010 and later Camaro crank pulley.